What the heck? Parents on Twitter is required to go live. Are we live? Frack.
I think that's what that red thing means. In the
Oh man, whatever.
I'm undefeated. I'm undefeated. I'm undefeated. I'm undefeated.
Well, that was fun.
What
a
we do a
joke.
thing.
Wow, this is how we're gonna start things off. Like, you guys are awful. Yeah, so it looks like there's a few accounts on Twitter that we have to have premium accounts to stream. So welcome to YouTube and Twitch and Facebook for what a joke. Welcome to That Helps No One FantasyCast, our maiden voyage, a preseason show, if you will, on Area 51 Network. Now, just like preseason, we don't have all the starters. It's just going to be myself, Ryan, and my good buddy Steve. He's across the lake from me. We're missing Ted. We're missing Chris. We're not sure if who our starting lineup is gonna be for week 1. Ted had heart surgery, so I mean, it's a fair pass, I suppose, for now. I mean, you're not going to do all your starters. You might get in one drive, maybe, but and then Chris, we had a chat yesterday, and he's really bogged down with, he's got a new job which doesn't allow him as much time to prep and blah 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 blah. Like, you wait, week 1, we're gonna be all guns a-blazing, and we're gonna have way more to talk about. I've mumbled for a bit. Steve, welcome to the first show of the season, man. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I just typed into our private chat. Nobody's going to believe that we didn't stage that mess of an opener. I mean, it's pretty indicative of what our show is, right? Like, we're
100%
a bunch of yahoos thrown together, talk a little bit of football. But if you're asking who the starting lineup, it's pretty obvious. There's 2 people here, and there's 2 people that are not. So I
got my starting gloves from Bradley. I got my Bradley.
I was gonna wear those. I just kind of
I can't wear both though, because I can't type with like a glove. So this one's got get in the ground there. So thank you again, Bradley Bozeman, for hooking us both up with game used gloves signed. I am the center of attention now, I guess you could say.
Fun.
Hey, so season hasn't started. Preseason, we're 1 week in, and not a lot's happened. I mean, we're getting to learn about dynamic kickoffs and all that kind of crap. So quite enjoy seeing what that is all about. Oh yeah, follow along. FantasyCast on Twitter. Check us out on YouTube as well. Comment along if you can. Apparently not on Twitter, because that's not going to be happening. But yes, thank you to Area 51. We have a new home. I am so jacked to do this season. But Steve, it was a busy day for the Minnesota Vikings. Our little text conversation was quite animated today. We saw that JJ McCarthy is done for the year with getting a fully repaired a meniscus, which apparently isn't serious according to you. Not really sure.
Well, you know what? I've tried looking into this a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean I looked at one thing and I was like, I don't really care, to be honest. I've had my meniscus repaired, altered, parts of it stitched, parts of it shaved off. Like, I'm sure there's a doctor out there who's just laughing at me, being like, "You're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about." That's okay.
Maybe you didn't get a good doctor when you had all that done.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, that's got to be almost 10 years ago now. But when I was going through that, it was basically like, we don't have material or like a way to replace them. Once it's gone sort of thing. And you're at a higher risk of arthritis. So basically they just shave parts of it off that have been, damaged or torn. If it's a certain type of tear, they sew it back together. They hope that works. The problem is there's not a lot of blood flow to that area. And so it doesn't naturally repair on its own. With that being said, I know there's like severities of it. I was back playing like soccer, hockey, and stuff like that in like 4 weeks. And I think Ted was, Ted's had a a couple times, I believe. And he was back, I think, even earlier than that. So like, it's not that serious of a thing. So when I heard that, he had a torn meniscus, I was like, whatever, he'll be back 4 to 6 weeks. And then you'd mention, you're like, he's out for the year. And I'm like, what? And it was
Yeah.
like some words about like it's full repair. And I'm like, I have no clue what that means. I mean,
We're
it's
not
got to be
talking.
serious. He's a pro athlete. I mean, if it was what I had, he would easily be back within 2 months at the worst, kind of idea. So we'll have to look into what full repair says. But like you said, it just means Sam Darnold to Justin Jefferson this year. And I said, you mean Sam Darnold, the Pro Bowler?
It was one of those conversations where you realize, like, we're so back.
We're so back.
I'm kind of voice texting on my way to a job this morning, and like I just said, Pro Bowl doesn't mean a whole lot. Steve says to me, to Sam Darnold it does, and guys who have contract incentives for it. He goes, other than that, I'm better at dodgeball than he is. I would cook him. And I said, yeah, but in the third quarter when it's 21-7, I'm like, Pro Bowl doesn't mean a whole lot. So.
But you know what? I really wish Ted was on the show right now because, Ted and I are pretty avid dodgeballers. Like that's where I met my wife.
I've been on the receiving end of the dodgeballs from you guys.
Yeah, like I'm no like prodigy athlete or anything like that, but I can play dodgeball. Ted and I can play dodgeball. I feel quite confident that the NFLers have the athletic edge on me, but I would destroy those guys in dodgeball. Guaranteed 100%. So hopefully they see this show and hopefully they fly me out somewhere cool and we'll have a little challenge dodgeball game.
I think if you think about dodgeball, you're just grabbing a ball that is oversized of your hand. You're not having to like have a precision grip on laces and hit a spiral. Although Ted, before he had his surgery, he had this like he really started hitting the spin, like the backhand spin move, and it started just like decapitating.
I mean, we probably have like 8 to 10 different types of throws. That's what most people don't. Most people think of dodgeball and they're like, you played it in high school, middle school, and you're like, you throw a ball as hard as you can at the other person. How hard can it be? Well, there's a whole bunch of different things, and there's like, it's pretty wild. It's super.
Like you see a toe tap to the outside to be inbounds. Like how about like jumping back and like receiving a pass and getting somebody out and bringing somebody back in? Feels just as good.
Way better.
Feels just as good.
Way better. So, way better than probably better than a toe tap catch to win the Super Bowl. I would just say.
I don't even know how you'd compare them to, honestly. Then we saw Jordan Addison go down later in the day, and I'm thinking like, all right, this might be one of the worst days since Kirk Cousins went down and then Jefferson. So, or vice versa. Sorry. So, no big deal. It's not like the Vikings are just like, we traded away the guy that's healthy now, and now we don't have anything. So it sounds like Jordan Addison's going to be okay. So he'll be just fine. So, the NFL is just a funny place. So many random things can happen on any given day. You look at, we're going through the Brandon Ayuk kind of drama, days of our lives kind of thing. So like, is he going to be Stefano? I'm not sure. That's a throwback to anybody that watches Days of Our Lives. But like we're getting into like the silly season. Like we're not even at draft season yet. Where if you're drafting this early, were you ever involved in that league before Whistleblowers?
I don't think so.
So
involved in a few, but I don't.
Good friend of the show, James Rayburn. He had a league, and we used to draft like after like, I think we drafted almost before like week 1 of the preseason. So it was like really heavy. And we've talked about this on the show before. Like I remember watching Ryan Williams go down, had just been drafted by the Cardinals, goes down on a Friday night, full ACL. I'm like, that was my 2nd overall pick. And then I had Daniel Thomas and he went down like 5 weeks later. I'm like, I just wasted the 2nd and 3rd overall picks when I could have had AJ Green and Julio Jones in their rookie season. Like I hate this stupid sport, but you shouldn't be drafting this early. Way too much happens. You're wasting picks. But that being said, the nice thing about the people that do draft a little bit later in the summer is you get to see some stuff. You get to see, like, last year, Jake Bobo became, a household name. And I mean, man, we need Chris on the show again. But I mean, I was watching a lot of Jake Bobo for the Seahawks, and man, was that guy fun to watch. You knew he was going to factor into their week one offense. Like, he felt like a fit. And you're already seeing guys from preseason, or actually from training camp even, that are already finding a fit. I don't have a heading for this, but let's talk about players we like. That's a power up.
I mean, just before you do that, I mean, the one thing I was going to say about preseason drafting and stuff like that is you have this kind of this weird la la land of football. I don't even know if that's we're
going to allow it. I'm going to allow it.
La la land. It's a pretty technical term.
Yeah.
You have all of these guys who are fighting for their job, who are playing against other guys who are fighting for their job. And you have standouts. You have Jake Bobos. You have guys that you will never hear from again. And so we get caught up in this hype world where it's like, man, that guy looked really good. He just went off for like 175, 2 touchdowns. Like, this is a guy that's going to make the 53-man roster. And more times than not, that player does not make the 53-man roster because they're showing out for one game and they were playing against second, third, fourth stringers. But then you have like some of these guys who they're young and they're, especially the rookie class or the first years, who still need to be out there for the reps and stuff like that. And we get caught in this land of like, who are the make believers, the people who are just fighting for a job and they're not going to make it? Do I bite early on one of those guys because you could have the next guy who, is a starting running back or, a second option wide receiver somewhere. So it's this kind of like game of cat and mouse where it's like you should never be drafting this early, but if you are drafting this early, or really even within the next couple of weeks, you have to play this game of like, you have to watch preseason super, super carefully. And I hate it. I hate preseason. It's such a joke because I get caught up in that stuff and then it like consumes my entire life. So really interesting time in football right now where you don't want to pay attention, but as soon as you do, it just sucks you in because you're like, I'm going to find that next gem and I'm going to look like the genius in your league. And you usually don't.
Yeah. I mean, if you're hitting on one of those guys like last year, Cousin Puka, right? I took him, I think Mr. Irrelevant as far as my last pick went. And our group chat's going, I'm like, I'm going on name only. And I kind of looked at his stats in the preseason. And like he was getting a lot of good looks. I'm like, the Rams offense, I think, likes to distribute the ball. And I wouldn't be surprised if this guy actually makes a name for himself. 17th round or whatever it was, 15th round, you're like, it's a flyer. This isn't going to cost me a thing. Half the guys are doing roster dumps as soon as the draft ends anyway. You go and pick like Nathan Rourke because he's like, oh, I love the BC Lions. That would have been a bad pick if you drafted last week. So, it's one of those things. And next thing you know, like Puka's rookie of the year, and he won rookie of the year, didn't he? If not, anyway, he was Pro Bowl or whatever. Anyway,
he was in the conversation. It's such an interesting thing because
absolutely balled out.
Yeah. I mean, another great example, I'm not going to go too deep into it because I know it's a player you want to talk about and we have just, made a pretty cool trade with. But I think it was somewhere like in the 12th, 14th, like it was super late in the draft.
Yeah.
I'm 2 spots away. No, I'm a spot away from drafting. Our buddy Nick is up on the clock. He's an Alabama fan as well. And I'm thinking, I don't really have a lot of rookies. I'm going to take a flyer on Bryce Young. Why not? First overall pick. He's going to get the keys to the franchise. This is a no-brainer, and he swipes it. And I'm super choked, right? You hate getting swiped the pick before you go to. And he picks him, and I go, well, who am I going to pick now? All right, I'll pick this CJ Stroud guy. I'm not sold on him. I don't know what he is. I don't know what he is in Houston. I think Houston's a bit of a dumpster fire. And rightfully so at that time it was. I think CJ Stroud actually won Offensive Rookie of the Year now that I'm talking about it. But that's the weirdness of drafts, and that's why draft time is my favorite, and then fantasy football draft is my second favorite time in the football calendar.
Well, I find it's actually funny this season for whistleblowers anyway. Soon as I renewed the league, I thought I did it a lot sooner, but like as soon as it gets renewed, all of a sudden it's like DM, text,
Trade
text.
block,
And
trade
like,
block.
oh, it's like, you guys, I am at work right now. I was just, I had a break and I just renewed the league because I forgot to do it. It's like, oh, we got to get this. It's like 11:30 in the morning. I'm not ready to do like heavy trade thoughts, even though I kind of am. So like you and I, we were stewing on this trade since I think the end of last season, and you smartened up and made the trade proper for me because there was a few extras that I was assuming that you still wanted, and well, it worked out for the best for both of us. So I don't know what you guys think about this, but Steve had been wanting Jahmyr Gibbs, and I mean, he had a great season. I still think that's going to be a tough situation out in Detroit, but at the same time, I needed a quarterback. So speaking of CJ Stroud, I got CJ Stroud and had a few options, so I went and picked up James Cook as well. Sorry, Steve, I had to go away from the computer for a second. I don't know if you heard it, but basically just recapping our trade. You're still on mute, by the way. We had that trade, and I think it helps both of us. We both keep our rookie. We both get, I think he's got Lamar, so we both have our quarterbacks. It just sets you up for a better start to your draft. So I think both of us are in a good position. So, you got all that?
Yeah, you were just recapping the trade.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just kind of saying it's one of those where the dog threw up.
The dog's
Oh
not here
man.
wrong. Threw up on her bed. I'm like, oh gosh.
Oh, you know what? It's we lost our dog last summer, and I was like, there's so many of these random little things. I'm like, I'm not ready to have those moments again. So if Steve has to go, I'll vamp for as long as I need to. So let's get into what I was trying to get into before, players we like. Now, I'm not going to say Najee Harris.
Because you don't like him, or you're just like embarrassed to do that twice.
That's a year one joke. We're past that. So
are we? I don't think I'm ever going to be past that, to be honest.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of funny that now people are kind of wondering about Najee. I think a little bit. That offense has definitely changed, and that's for sure. So
it is interesting that you bring that up, because we were talking about, like, players we like, players we don't. And I was like, should I just like throw this on there for conversation's sake? That like I don't really like. It's not that I don't like Najee. It's just I don't love Najee with the way they used Jalen Warren last year, right?
And I mean, it's one of those things, like, he could go to so many teams and instantly blow up the way we all thought. But I mean, that Pittsburgh offense just didn't utilize him. So I'm going to go first here. Yeah. Xavier Worthy. So he had, from what we were being told, a phenomenal training camp. Him and Mahomes, instant connection. Not only did they have a connection, like, dude broke CJ2K's 40 time. He was a first rounder. And I mean, you look at that offense, until he's not, Travis Kelce's still going to be a big part of their offense, but he's getting up there in years. He's taken a pretty heavy beating. They're probably not going to ask him to be like the premier piece of their offense this season. I think they've proven that they've got depth to make a lot. They got Mecole Hardman back, which I love. I'll always be there, Rashee Rice. Like, they've got some options there. Pacheco, obviously we heard about Hollywood Brown kind of being down. So, I mean, it's typical, step up opportunity in the Chiefs offense. I mean, if he's as fast and as dynamic as they're kind of saying, like, do you make a bold pick and take him earlier than you'd like? Maybe. I think it's possible. I don't say like take him before like freaking Marvin Harrison Jr. or anything, but I mean, if you're drafting rookies first, if you got a rookie draft to start, I mean, that's a pretty healthy pick if you're honestly the back half or even like right after the top 5 kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one, because I think we tend to be skeptical over these burners, right? We have had burner after burner fizzle out in this league. I remember when John Ross put up that huge time and everyone was like, oh my gosh, since he just got like the new Tyreek Hill, it's always the new Tyreek Hill, right?
Yeah.
Someone who's a burner,
Right.
and they fizzle out. The thing that I like the most about Xavier Worthy is he has the skill set that an Andy Reid offense flourishes with. If he needs to burn, he can burn. If they're going to do like a 5-yard screen type,
Yeah.
Andy Reid loves his screen. So get the ball in the guy's hand and let him work. That's all you
Totally.
really need to do. So, when I'm looking at rookies, if I think Worthy is going to get, I don't know, 60 to 70 looks in the season, that's probably pretty good for most rookies. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is your number one.
Mhm.
After that, I don't know what the number two is. Conventional wisdom would say stay safe and go Malik Neighbors or something like that.
And we'll
But
get into him too.
yeah, I don't know that that's too out there of a pick, like you said, to bite too early on a guy that is in an offense that is suited for his skill set. I think that's what you're looking for most with these rookies.
So I just want to add one more thing, and then I want you to get to your guy. But when what draft was it? Was it the Leonard Fournette draft? And I've got a good buddy who spends way too much money on football betting and high stakes fantasy football, and he's way above where I spend. Anyway, so I'm like, hey, I think I had the first pick that year.
Yes,
Or
you
first
did.
or second. Yeah, and I'm like, I'm going Leonard Fournette, like Vontae Mack, no matter what kind of thing. And then he's like, dude, Kareem Hunt is the guy. He's going to, Andy Reid's offense. I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, this is the guy. He's like, I promise you, this guy is going to be the real deal. You are going to kill it this season. Everyone was mad at me and a little shocked at the same time. Kareem Hunt goes on a tear all season, and I look like a genius. But I mean, it was a bit of a risk because I didn't know as much about him as I knew about Leonard Fournette. Like I was all in on him, thinking like this guy is the pick. Like you can't miss. And I think we get back to Worthy, and he's one of those guys. Like he's in an offense where he's going to see the ball. Like he will have opportunities because there's so many parts to that offense, and you have to respect all of them. So I think if you've got a guy like him that can burn, you've got other guys that can too. I mean, it's going to take 5 weeks for most of the NFL to catch up if they do start using him as a deep threat kind of thing, because that's usually how long it takes before guys get the book on somebody. So, I mean, not a terrible pick.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that I can't even remember where Kareem Hunt. I think he was a 3rd-round pick for the Chiefs. He was not a 1st-round pick.
No,
that
wasn't.
was the year that draft class was one of the weirdest draft classes we will ever come across. That was the year Fournette went 4th, I think. I think
3rd round. You're right.
CMC was the 8th overall pick. So you got 2 top 10 running backs, which even at that time, 7 years ago, was unheard of. And people were like, get Fournette, get McCaffrey. I was never big on Fournette because I watch a ton of like Bama games. And as soon as Bama had like strong run stuffing D, like Fournette did nothing against them. That draft class also had like Corey Davis went in the top 10, who I was like, this dude is a freak. Like he reminds me so much of, those big body Julio kind of thing, receivers who can do anything. That was the John Ross draft class as well. I think there was another receiver in there. I want to say like Mike Williams or something like that. But it just goes to show you have all of those top 10 players on offense that are going to be fantasy football looks. Not all of them are going to be successful in fantasy football. Whether they're successful in their NFL career or not, that's kind of a different thing. When you're talking about fantasy football, it's yards, touchdowns, catches, all of those things.
Dude, Mitch Trubisky went 2nd.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Trubisky. I'm pretty sure that was Mahomes' draft as well, wasn't it? 2017.
Yeah, Jamal Adams, Corey Davis, Mike Williams. You're right. John Ross. Yeah, Mahomes went 10th.
Right. So like, look at that top 10. We have Trubisky, Fournette, Corey Davis, Mike Williams, Christian McCaffrey, John Ross, Patrick Mahomes. I would say out of all of those people, there was probably the most uncertainty with Patrick Mahomes because they had Alex Smith there. They traded out of their. I think KC was like in the low 20 or the high
Yeah, they
20s
traded up to
somewhere,
get him. They were
and
hot
they
on him.
traded a ton for him. And people were like, "What are you doing for like this Mahomes kid? Like he's okay, but like what about
Texas
Deshaun
Tech.
Watson?"
You know,
Yeah,
the massive school of Texas Tech.
yeah.
Not
Like
exactly a Bama.
all
Not
eyes were on
exactly.
Trubisky. They were on Deshaun Watson. That's when he had like, I'm pretty sure that was the year him and Lamar had that big shootout between Clemson. I was forgetting where Deshaun went. And Louisville. They went like, I think it was like 48-41 or something like that. It was one of the like most bonkers college shootout games of all time. So when you're picking these guys, just remember that like if you do something like what Ryan did and he went Kareem Hunt over Fournette, over McCaffrey, um, hopefully you do your homework or you talk to somebody who has done their homework maybe a little bit for you, but
Yeah, like
there's
us.
there's no right answer to these things. Like I
No.
don't think this is the case, but who's to say that Xavier Worthy is not going to be the best wide receiver in this class and Marvin Harrison Jr. is a bust?
It's entirely possible.
All it takes, like, this is how volatile the NFL is. You have one bad, like, catastrophic injury as a rookie, and you don't get those early reps in with your team, and you fall behind in that developmental process. Sometimes you never recover from that stuff. So, yeah, it's
Jody Fortson,
yeah, Jody Fortson, who is no longer
who's now a Dolphin. I love that.
who is
Jody
the
Fortson's
Dolphins.
a Dolphin?
I was
What?
like scrolling scores. I'm like, Jody Fortson, he's playing again. What
Like,
that does
yeah,
that
man,
mean?
he got traded a while ago.
All right. Well,
Or
now
I think he
he's
signed
gonna
or
blow up.
probably will. So you're probably just trying to like delay who you like because you don't have
Oh
anybody.
no, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
One of the people I have on here is a tandem actually, former Ravens tandem. They leave Baltimore together.
Say it again. You're pausing out. Oh, guy.
I think
All of us lost our internet. Shoot, that was me, and I'm on the.
that was you. Your internet always
Uh-oh.
goes. I don't know why you're
I
like.
was on the. No, I'm on a booster now. That's
Oh, there
weird.
you go.
Freaking
Yeah.
booster.
So old Baltimore Ravens tandem. They leave the Ravens together. They show up to play for a new Harbaugh in LA.
Mm.
J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, they work so well together. They work it so well as like a different style running back, a 1-2 punch. So instead of Coach John, they get to go to his brother Jim in his first year, and they're going to see a high volume of work. Look at what happened in Michigan when Jim was there. Look at what happened with the 49ers when Jim was there. He is a run first guy, just like his brother was, just like his dad when he was coaching. Don't be shocked if these guys potentially both get upwards of 1,000 rushing yards. It wouldn't surprise me. The big key here is J.K. Dobbins has had some of the worst injury luck a young player can have in his career. And I was just talking about that, right? Here's a second round pick, has all of the tools to be, that explosive runner, breaks tackles, can take it to the house. He can catch, he can run some routes. If he stays healthy, he could be looking at an absolute monster year. I don't see him getting drafted too early, so you probably don't have to reach within the first 4 or 5 rounds
I was going to
kind of
ask, like,
idea. So
these are the kind of, I mean, you don't have to even have both of them right away, but yeah, you could probably reach out a little bit later. Like, basically, if you see guys going off, you can probably hold out. Like, I guess you get your feelers out, right? Like, can I make one more round? Can I make
yeah,
it one more round and take them?
and
So
that's when you start getting angry in fantasy football drafts is you wait too long. The interesting part about this, I was just, scouring a little bit, and some of the depth charts have Gus Edwards as the primary over JK, which kind of makes sense because Gus has been more healthy. He's been more
I was going to
reliable.
say health thing, right?
I think this has got to be a true 50-50. Scary part with 50-50s and not knowing what Jim is looking for in a runner, you don't know which one it is. And if one takes the hot hand, that could be your bell cow. But I expect it to be 60-40 at the worst. So either of those guys, I really like them, and it's not going to cost you kind of that big pick.
I got a good one. Now, this is a guy that became a star, I think, season 2 of our show.
Yep.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, right? Van Jefferson. I still love this guy. It's almost just like I hold this show so dear to my heart for some reason. But Van Jefferson, I mean, last year he was kind of up and down, but I think in an offense, last year he definitely didn't have a great season. So it must have been 2022. 2022, he definitely, I mean, he was kind of back and forth, that's for sure. But he's the kind of guy, especially in a Russell Wilson offense, where you're adding, you've got Najee, you've got Van Jefferson. Who else did they have in there? Can't remember who else was in that offense.
For Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Jalen Warren, Cordero Patterson's still there as far as running back. Pickens, they've got Calvin Austin, Des. They've got kind of a.
They've got Pickens and everybody else.
They've got like a lunch bucket crew. So of guys that these are all new guys to this offense, so they're probably building a relationship together. I kind of like Van Jefferson, and I think again he's not a guy you have to reach for. I think you can get him. Geez, I mean, you could probably get him into you could probably be in
maybe a free agent
back half. I guess just depends on how deep your rosters are. Like our whistleblower league's pretty deep, so I mean, he's definitely a guy I would say pull on your bench within the last couple rounds for sure. I mean, there's going to be better players, but I think I don't know. If this Pittsburgh offense actually gets something going, they could be kind of fun. And I mean, Russell Wilson knows how to get the ball downfield, and maybe it's just a refresh on his career and a few of the other guys as well. I don't know. I like Van Jefferson, and he can play. And in Pittsburgh, I mean, it's pretty easy to get celebrated when you start playing well.
Yeah, I mean, last 2 rounds of a draft is even a
last 3. I'm saying last 3. I'm bold.
Yeah, you just have to know your crew, right? That's why it's so hard going into a brand new league, because you don't know anybody's tendencies. You don't know who people's teams are. If there's a Steelers fan there, they're probably, then
have him. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying get him. Just saying I like him. If there's a Steelers fan, let him have him.
Let him have him.
Yeah, go nuts.
Yeah. My other one that I like, actually I have a few here. I started just going crazy. Cole Kmet.
Oh boy.
So I've had Cole Kmet in our whistleblowing league for the last couple of years, or I pick him up here and there. He's still super young. Obviously this pick hinges largely on what first overall pick Caleb Williams is going to do for the Bears, and how they are going to divvy out those weapons, because they got a whole bunch of new toys in there, right?
Yeah.
Rookie quarterbacks need security blankets, though. We don't know who Caleb Williams' security blanket is. Is it going to be Keenan Allen? Is it going to be DJ Moore? Is it going to be Cole Kmet? Or is it going to be one of those
two guys?
I would hope so, right?
Yeah.
So especially in the red zone, Caleb Williams is kind of known for scramble drill, getting out of things. I'm not going to put him in Manziel kind of territory, but he likes to make improv type plays. Well, who do you look for? How about this 6'7" giant kind of Jimmy Graham-esque tight end? Throw it up to him. Let him catch the ball. I don't think he's going to go off for 1,000 yards or anything like that. But if you can get your second tight end, or maybe you just want to wait and get a high upside tight end, because we've always talked about how tight end is such a crapshoot in the NFL. Wait until the middle back half of the draft. If he's still there, take a leap on him, because he might put up 10 to 12 touchdowns. Just like I said, in those red zone drills where Caleb Williams is scrambling. I like the upside of that. We
got, is it Vengeance CNS? Fire away. What's your question? I'll be on there. So the fun thing is when I type something in there, which I'm going to learn how to do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It'll say fire away. Is Ryan single? Sorry, folks. This hairy guy's married. I like his mustache. You know what? You can still like it.
That's a lie. Nobody likes it.
Hey, there's a few people.
I was on the private chat tab, so I was like, where's Ryan getting all these questions from? Wow. Yeah. It's been a hot minute since we've done this, right?
I mean, I'm going to... These are things, you know what? My wife, I got to save these comments. This puts me in a different category now.
I'm still eligible.
I'm a sex symbol in the fantasy football world. This is perfect. Like, no. I mean, does this make it any better? The fact that you got to support the show. We got bits here. We got bits we got to do. So, I mean, how great would that be if Taylor Swift was at a game this season? That's a joke.
Maybe we'll get her on the podcast. Who knows?
You know what? If we can get more than one viewer, I think for our first episode, I think we're well on our way to getting. What the heck?
It's not out of our reach.
It's preseason. Like I said, I'm not too worried about it. So no, I am not single. I was single at least 20 years ago. So I'm going to get my last guy in here. We've already talked about this guy. And this feels like a Najee Harris thing, but I'm going to say it anyway. And we talked about it before we got into
more,
this.
By the way.
What?
You have 2 more.
Oh, I do. That's right. So let's say this guy first.
One.
I'm going to skip. I'm just going to get this guy out quick. CJ Stroud, dude's going to cook this year. Thanks, Steve, is all I have to say. But the guy I want to talk about, and I've been listening to some Speak out there, watching some clips, watching Good Morning Football on NFL Network. Jordan Whittington for the Rams. This is going to be my guy. I mean, this isn't going to be a secret. Anybody that's actually paying attention will kind of know. But Jordan Whittington, do I say he's Puka 2.0? Do I go 2 seasons in a row and hit home runs on a Rams receiver? I think it's
probably
possible.
Right.
I mean,
you're waiting for me to say it, so I might as well just say it.
Yeah, you should just say it. Just say it. Like it looks like they really like. I know McVay really likes him in the offense so far. They've been trying to find him the ball, which is a good sign. I mean, this is public knowledge. It's not like I'm speaking something like, "Oh, I didn't hear about this." If you're watching our show, I really hope you've heard about this at this point. We should not be your first network that you're watching for fantasy football. Hopefully you do watch other ones like we do. We're just bringing you kind of the deep dives. But yeah, I do like Jordan Whittington, and I think the Rams offense definitely knows how to get the ball around. What's not to like? I mean, he's another receiver you can plug and play. It's rookie season, so if you have kind of a middle tier roster like I've had for so many years, it happens every now and then. It gets good, but if you have a middle tier roster, those are the kind of guys you try to build around, and you hope that they blow up. And if they do, like we talked about Worthy, I mean, you're laughing because everyone will start offering the world to get them for you, and then you put your pride aside and you trade for those really, really good players. So that's what happens. You get a CJ2K and you trade him away for the farm.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch a lot of Texas games last year. I don't know a lot about him. I just know the one comment from I can't remember when it was. I think Sean McVay they were asking him about, the rookie, and he gave them one word: factor. So like and he's a man. That's an important word, right? Yeah. Right. Like that's an important word because is it like X factor? Cool. You got yourself like an X factor player. Is it just like he's going to factor into the offense? Cool. You get a guy that is going to like actually play as a like. I was just looking. He's a 6th round pick. They're kind of shots in the dark at that point. So, I like that pick. I like the idea of a guy on a team that they don't care where you were drafted. They don't care what your name is. Show me you can play and I'll get you the ball. That's been Sean McVay since he's come into the league. Yeah.
So again, for me, and you guys know I like to find my weird, kind of obvious ones though. Whittington's one of those guys, man. Like, I'm not saying he's a Jake Bobo kind of guy, but maybe he's a Puka guy. I mean, people do hit on these picks. So,
Yeah.
you might as well like think, well, the stats are there and I've been listening to stuff and they seem to like this guy. Maybe this isn't the worst pick to make. And I mean, who you're going to pick for probably like, we have 4 keepers plus a rookie in our league. So, I mean, you really have to start doing homework on the back half of a draft. You really need to know your depth because you start picking through like, oh man, there's like nothing left. Like Sam Darnold's out there. But
you mean Pro Bowler Sam Darnold?
Pro Bowler Sam Darnold. Yeah, Dodge.
It matters to him. It matters to him.
It does. But I mean, you have to know your guys. So in that first 5 rounds that you're drafting, like you're going to be trying to hit all the stars you can. But on the back half, like you need to start knowing those guys. So anyway, that's where I feel you should be. And like you said, CJ Stroud is another one.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go a little off the board here. I was gonna talk about a different player first, but you know what? We're talking about LA. We're talking about Sean McVay. We're talking about rookies. One of the players I like is rookie running back Blake Corum. So,
Okay.
I had to add a rookie in here just for whatever. He's clearly going to be behind Kyron Williams on the depth chart. That's no surprise. Kyron Williams was awesome last year. I picked him up for free keeper, ended up putting up a trade together. I think, I can't remember, it was like a pick. I want to say it was a pick, Kyron and someone else for AJ Brown or something like that. Anyways.
Wouldn't have mattered if Cam Akers was used, but whatever.
Yeah, that's right. So he's going to be behind him. But I think Blake Corum gets some looks. And the big thing here is Kyron Williams has not been able to put together a full season of football yet. Blake Corum at Michigan, another Jim Harbaugh guy, was mega productive. Like I think I went back 3 years because I don't watch a ton of Michigan football. And he had 3 really productive years. I think he had 2 over 1,000-yard seasons in his junior and his senior year. I always get those mixed up, American terms, in college. And I think this is a guy that, again, there's probably not going to be a lot of demand for him. But if you have rookies in your league or if you're doing a rookie draft, here's a guy that could just take the starting job from Kyron Williams because he took it from, who are we just talking about? Cam Akers.
Yeah.
Sean McVay isn't really sold on a running back. It's just like, if you can play for me, here's the ball. And you got a guy like Blake Corum, 4-year starter. Actually, I think he was a 3-year starter at Michigan. Can be trusted, can put up yards. He's a battering ram. I really like Blake Corum. You should draft him. You should not wait until after the draft, and people are just going to take him for free.
There you go. Finish up with you got. I guess.
Yeah, you want me to do my last one?
The other one. We've actually gone. We got lots to talk about, so we gotta.
Okay, I'll be quick with this one.
I ran my.
I really like Dalton Kincaid. We're talking about tight ends. This has less to do with the position and more about who does Josh Allen have to throw the ball to. They lost Stephon Diggs. They lost Big Play Gabe. It's Khalil Shakir.
Can I stop you for a second? Can you believe that they lost all those guys? Like, oh my gosh.
And then they on the defensive side of the ball, they were trading people away to get cap compliant. That's one of the weirdest off seasons I've ever seen. It's like they had no forward thought. They're like, we're winning the Super Bowl this year, and then we'll deal with it after. And they're like, oh crap, we didn't win the Super Bowl. We still have to do this. But
sorry, I hijacked you, but I was like, I still can't believe that they had that kind of offseason. I'm like, so you're telling me the Bills are losing good players, right? Okay,
lots of them too. Like lots of Pro Bowlers.
Freaking real. Anyway, continue.
Yeah.
Dalton Kincaid.
So Dalton Kincaid was not very good to start the year last year. It's pretty normal that tight ends take a little while as rookies to get into offenses. I'm pretty sure it was about the last 7 weeks of the season. Dalton Kincaid blew up. He gained the trust of Josh Allen. He's going to be Josh Allen's number 1 target in that offense. Well, you know what? I just traded you James Cook. I
That's
actually
right.
do believe James Cook will be the number one focal point. Maybe
Yeah,
one
they're
A
going to
and
have to
one
build
B.
somewhere. They're going to
They
have to build
they
somewhere.
have to
You
give it to
can't get
somebody.
rid of those guys and expect that offense to keep going the way it was. Like, you better have something up your sleeve.
I don't know how many targets, Stephon Diggs got. That's probably a 100 catch guy. So you're looking at maybe like 140 targets. Where do all of those go?
Yeah.
Kincaid is going to get, at least half of those. They're going to have to use, Cook. The Bills are probably one of the biggest surprises and kind of like unknowns this year, and it's going to be exciting watching them.
I just like it. I remember when free agency opened up, and I'm like, okay, the Bills just lost a ton
Yeah.
of talent. Like, it just didn't make sense. You're just sitting there, even as a casual fan. Like, I mean, fantasy football is one thing, but you're like, I don't get it. Like, it just
Makes no
like
sense to me.
help me figure this out. We got a few things I want to get into. The players we don't like, I think we can go pretty quick on this.
Sure.
I'm going to give you my 3, and you can give me yours. I'll just do them quickly. I don't love Malik Neighbors. Dude, Daniel Jones sucks. Let's just say that. I'm sorry. Yes, you're an NFL quarterback, and you're making hella good money. But as a guy that watches it, and I'm going to say it because I'm allowed to, because he's not going to come to my door. Dude, Daniel Jones sucks. And Malik Neighbors, you know how many good receivers get wasted on bad quarterbacks?
Yep.
Daniel Jones is not, I mean, geez, Eli Manning did make some guys look good, but
Daniel serviceable. Daniel Jones is terrible.
Man, I'm just telling you. Ezekiel Elliott, I think he's done. I just
he did not look good.
No. And then this other one, the final one for me is Keenan Allen. I don't know, man. Like, Keenan Allen has been pretty good, but everybody always seems to question this guy. And maybe it's a chip on his shoulder, and I'm totally wrong on this. But like, Keenan Allen as a Bear, I don't know, man. I don't like that. Like,
Seems
it doesn't.
Weird.
It's like it's as weird as the Bills getting rid of the talent they had. I just like it kind of rubs me the wrong way. So
don't go to the Bears. You're gonna ruin yourself.
Exactly. So sorry, Malik Neighbors. I am not drafting you. I mean, I'm totally drafting you second overall.
This is a smoke screen. This will be the greatest smoke screen if you grab him.
Yeah. Definitely not.
My one that I don't like, I was just talking to one of our buddies about this in our league, Tank Dell. It's not that I don't like him. It's just there are too many mouths in that Houston offense to feed. And like Stroud is going to throw the ball all over the yard. There's plenty of targets to go around. But you have Stephon Diggs there. You have Nico Collins who showed out really well. They just got Joe Mixon. You're the fourth person at best. Boom bust type player, but barring an injury, I don't really like the upside of Tank Dell. I'm probably going to look really dumb on this one because he's probably going to prove me wrong, but I'm not buying the hype from last year, and he has to show me that he's going to be healthy. My number 2 is actually Davante Adams. I'm not opposed to drafting him. He's going to be a productive player. But the value for me has to be right with Davante Adams. He's not keeper level for me anymore. He's 31 years old, and this last season was the first time in 5 years that he's placed outside of the top 5 at his position. So I think a
lot of that was the first half of the season though too.
But like
until the firing like that, did you see the Receiver show?
No.
On Netflix?
No.
Man, you got to see it. First of all, like, shout out Netflix for killing these documentaries.
I'll watch it too.
You're set for the next 6 hours of your life, I think, just over. It's so good. Yeah, it's like I might just rewatch it just because I'm geeked up talking to you about it. Yeah, Davante Adams, until the firing happened, like that team was a train wreck, and they were
though. They are
not as much. Not as much. They
what do you mean not as much?
They just missed out on the playoffs last year. They had a huge turnaround.
That was not because of an offensive surgence. Like for me, I think there's too many times that you can look at it and like this could go either. You're right. It could go either two ways. It could
I mean,
be
they
like,
lost
oh,
Carr though too. Like they lost. There's a lot of pieces.
who's their quarterback?
I can't remember.
They don't have Josh Jacobs anymore to draw like 7-8 guys in the box against him.
Someone's
I think
gonna say,
Devontae's
and
going to
they're like,
get
"How do you
double
guys not
teamed
know?"
like crazy. I don't know. Maybe it's like Gardner Minshew or something.
It might be Gardner Minshew. Holy,
That's
I think
the
he
only
might be
person
right.
I can really think of.
Dude, and Aiden O'Connell. It is Gardner.
So it's Gardner.
Dude has a better. Hey, you want to talk about someone that you hope is single? Gardner Minshew. That dude has got a sick stash.
Sex appeal.
Oh man.
I don't think Davante Adams will ever recapture. I put in the show notes like top 3 wide receiver role. I don't see him as a top 5 wide receiver.
No.
I don't even know if I see him as a top 10 wide receiver, to be honest. Like, that's weird for me to say because that guy is freaky skilled and he's going to get targets. He's going to get looks because he's literally like one of the only things in that offense left. I'm not keeping him. If I had him on my roster, I could not justify keeping him. I couldn't justify dropping a first-round pick on him. I don't know what the value has to be. Maybe like second, depending on how many keepers you have, but I'm staying away from him.
Man, Pro Football Network has him as like 5th.
Yeah,
that's wild.
We don't do this show to be safe. I want to have a couple takes here. My last.
I mean, I'm not going to I'm not going to disagree with you though.
Yeah, my last person that I don't like, again, like it's not that I don't like him because this player is freaky good. Rome Odunze. This is just like a caution with Rome Odunze.
I don't like his name.
I like the name Rome Odunze. It kind of just like it flows together. Rookie out of Washington, big body guy. He has polished route running. That's going to play in his favor. But we were just talking about the Bears. We don't really know what Caleb Williams is yet. Everybody told me that, Trevor Lawrence was like a generational quarterback and he throws the ball to the other team more than he does his own team. It's one of those things in football that quarterback is just such a tough position. It's the toughest position maybe in all of sports. He's going to be behind Keenan Allen. He's going to be behind DJ Moore. He's going to be behind DeAndre Swift getting those touches. Again, he's a 4th option. I don't love biting on people who are like, I'm thinking his upside, his ceiling for the year is 50 catches if he's lucky, because, both of those other 2 guys are going to take up 200 touches most likely without the running backs. So the thing he has going for him is that usually like rookie wide receivers who are polished route runners usually get the trust of the coaches in before other guys do because, they're playing like they should be. I forgot about Cole Kmet, who I had mentioned at the start of the show. He's going to be ahead of Odunze in the draft chart. So if you are drafting rookies, if it's a rookie league, yeah, give him a look. He's going to be on the higher end of rookie values. I'm not leapfrogging one of those other people for Rome Odunze.
Is he the kind of guy that maybe you hold off on? Like if you were going to draft him, maybe this isn't the year like you put all your eggs in his basket anyway. Like you can wait a year to be an owner of him, basically.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt me if someone else drafted him and he kind of had a really good year and I had to pay like premium rookie prices kind of for him.
Yeah.
I would rather do that and, draft the safer option. Like, I think a safer option is Xavier Worthy if we're talking about rookies, right? So, it's just a cautionary one. It's not that I don't like him. I think he's going to be productive as a pro. I just don't know what he is yet because we don't know what the Bears are. They have a rookie quarterback. They have all these brand new pieces. We don't know how he fits into them. He could be the guy where it's like, oh my gosh, they didn't use that guy at all. Like he just went to the wide receiver graveyard.
Yeah. Or he ends up being the guy that Russ trusts the most. So who knows? Yeah. That's the beauty of football. We have no clue. We
No
have
clue.
no freaking clue. There's guys that you've never heard of that become household names by week, like Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Cousin
What?
Puka.
Puka. What? Like all of a sudden out of nowhere, everybody's talking about him. You got his jersey. You're dropping, $120 to get this guy's jersey and everything
I
else.
mean,
Like,
that was
I didn't
Tank
even,
Dell too.
yeah, I didn't even know who this guy
I just
was, and now you've got his jersey, right? Like, there's so many of these players that just blow up out of nowhere. So,
Yeah.
let's finish off strong. He's going to be healthy for the 2024-25 season. Aaron Rodgers, he's got some weapons, and if he's healthy, I reached out to a good friend of the show, Jim Coventry, and I said, Jim, I asked him today, I said, am I crazy to think that the Jets
Yes.
could have a Tom Brady first season like the Bucs? They've got Garrett Wilson, they've got Breece Hall. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, he's going to be slinging. They added, he was saying they've got a few new guys on the O line that are going to step up. Like, is this one of those random years where like people are kind of hoping it happens and it just goes crazy good? Or is it going to be another like, all right, well, the Jets are going to be in the mix, but nothing special?
I mean, we thought that was going to happen last year.
I'm
Or at
just
least
thinking
I
like
thought it was going to happen.
the rest of that team's had a year to mature, right? So I don't know. Like I could see it not working out well. At the same time,
You know what? I can't see it. If he's healthy, I cannot see it working out poorly for them. Here's a
yeah,
guy like he's a guy who understands football. He understands the game. He manages his team. He is dynamic with his throwing. Yeah, and obviously those two young pieces, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. I mean, I think it was last week or the week before that, maybe. Um, Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson were kind of just screaming at each other on the sidelines, kind of thing. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, there's so much drama there. No, that's what you want, people. You want guys that are like, get me the ball. And he's like, I am going to get you the ball, but run the right route. Like, they're perfectionists.
like
That's
Travis
when you
Kelce,
have
right?
magic
He's
show
yelling at
up.
Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Or
They
T.O.
also grabbed
yelling at
Mike
Andy Reid.
Williams. They grabbed Mike Williams too. That is going to
Mhm.
be such a fun duo for him to throw to.
Alan
Yeah,
Lazard's
as
there
long
too.
as long as their O line stays healthy, they should be fairly good. I think they got Let me just pull it up. Yeah, they have Elijah Vera Tucker is probably the best O lineman on that. Let's see. Yeah, Elijah Vera Tucker. They were actually the ones that got the Ravens left guard John Simpson, Tyron Smith. They grabbed Morgan Moses from the Ravens, and then Joe Tippmann. So it should be a pretty good offensive line. From where Rodgers was coming from in Green Bay in those last few seasons, he didn't have that strong of an O line. Like Bakhtiari was hurt for season-ending ones. It has to go well for them. I
Yeah.
like every year, like Jets fans probably say this. This is going to be the year that offense clicks and gets back to like being productive again.
I think for the sake of the NFL, I sure hope so.
I hope
Like,
so too.
Aaron Rodgers is so polarizing, but when the guy is playing ball, like when he's slinging, if he's slinging on Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football, you're
Fun
watching.
TV.
You're watching,
It's
man.
fun
I'm watching.
football, man.
I know I'm watching.
Yeah.
Two more story notes, and then we're out of here. Caleb Williams, we talked about him a lot on this show to start. I really like. Now, I have a mantra when it comes to the Bears, and we can talk about this off the air. My line was, don't hit your team to a Chicago Bear, your fantasy team anyway. Matt Forte, there's a part there that, Ted, if you're watching, I hope you're grinning right now. But the Bears, for whatever reason, they always seem to just blow up in your face. Caleb Williams definitely has the panache, he's got this, not the star power, but he has that spark. He's not
got
just
the Baker Mayfield effect.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, like he just feels a little different. Like he just feels like a guy that might get it done. I don't want to say to win a Super Bowl, but just to get the team back to relevancy as far as where that division needs to be, as far as maybe trying to make the playoffs. Like the Bears are one of those teams, like, again, when they're going, like, man, they're tough. They're tough news, right? But I don't know, like, there's a lot of question marks, I think, overall on that team. But at the same time, I think Caleb Williams could be one of those dynamic quarterbacks that really makes it fun this year. And I think for the people that are hitching their wagons to him, I mean, guys, if you're right, he's gonna be a lot of fun.
You know what? I really hope you're wrong on that. I don't like Caleb Williams. I think he's
Okay.
a D-bag. But you're right. He's got that Baker Mayfield kind of
We've been
like,
wrong about D-bags though, too, right?
yeah, he's
There's
got
a
that
lot of those guys
swagger.
that we
He's
love
got
on the
that
show.
like in your face. I'm pretty sure it was Caleb Williams, not last year, but maybe it was like the year before that or something like that. He was painting his nails like during games, and he wrote
Okay.
like, I won't say the full word, but F off
Okay.
on his fingertip. So it was like,
I mean, that's
"Ooh,
smart. That's smart.
that's stupid."
That's smart.
No, it's stupid.
That's like
It,
Conor
like,
McGregor getting this too.
I'm probably gonna like, maybe take a little heat for this, being like, "Oh, you're just the old like no fun guy or whatever."
He
Let
is
your play
actually.
do let your play do the talking. You
Yeah.
don't need to write stuff like that on your finger. Throw a touchdown, it says it more.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't like
And then
stuff.
the last one, the two ongoing sagas, CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk. First of all, let's just get some. The CeeDee Lamb thing is going to happen. The Dallas
Yeah.
Cowboys need him.
They'll
It's
sign
going
him.
to happen. No one cares. Can we all just agree? Who cares why this is carrying on for Brandon Ayuk? Like, dude is not the best receiver in the NFL, and they're making the story as if he is like the premier piece. He's a good player. Do not get me wrong. But they're making this seem as if the San Francisco 49ers are nothing without this guy. And I know that's not what they're saying, but like this story is way too big for what it should be. Like, who cares if he gets traded or not? Like, it's the NFL. Someone else is going to step up for him. That Niners offense will be just fine. Could they use him and keep making another run this year? Absolutely. But for the same reasons, maybe they trade him to Dallas, CeeDee Lamb, and they give him an extra pick or something. I don't know. Like, who cares, honestly? Like, let's move on and let's get playing ball. San Francisco needs to get back to the Super Bowl. That's what they're trying to do. And you can't have this kind of drama on a team that wants to go and win. If it gets to week 1 and he's still on that team, it's going to be just enough of a distraction. And I don't think that team needs any distractions. I don't even like the Niners. I don't.
You know what? I'm going to play devil's advocate again with you. I actually think this is kind of a big deal. Here's a guy who just had 2 1,000-yard seasons, almost 10 touchdowns in back-to-back years. He has done nothing but put up yards and touchdowns since he came into the league. I'm a huge fan of Brandon Ayuk. I think the guy is mega explosive, mega talented. I think without Deebo Samuel there, he is the bona fide number one. Kind of like a Jamar Chase and T. Higgins kind of thing. So like when T was going through his contract stuff, it was like, oh, just whatever. Like you're the number 2 to Jamar Chase. If you put Brandon Ayuk on probably 15 plus different teams, he is your number 1, and you're very happy that he's your number 1. With that being said,
team, there's so many weapons on that team. All I'm saying is, like, yes, I agree with you. He probably is a number 1 on a lot of teams in the NFL. But on this team, like, that's why really good teams, that especially when they stay together and they can make runs year after year after year, there's a reason that these guys need to like know their place on the team. Everyone can't get paid. And there's a reason that they got that close. And Brandon Ayuk is part of it, but he's not the reason.
He's a big part of it. I think.
But he's not Deebo Samuel. He's not CMC. He's not
Didn't he have like almost 1,400 yards last year? I think he had like, I want to say like maybe not over 1,400 yards, but if it wasn't, you should look it up quickly.
I'm doing it.
And I feel like he was close to the 10 touchdown marker too. That's a monster season, man.
I know. All I'm saying is like you've got.
Deebo didn't put up those numbers. You have McCaffrey, yes. he is a massive part of that team.
1,375 catches, 1,300 yards, 7 TDs.
1,300
Year before,
on
1,000
75.
yards, 8 TVs. Yeah, 78
On
78 the year before.
75 catches. That says two things to me. Now, I don't watch enough Niners games to know
That's a lot of
how.
targets. That's a lot of catches.
That's actually not that many catches. Like, you would think if you're like close to that 1,500 yard mark, that's like 100 catches kind of territory. So that means he either was catching deep balls or he was catching it and he was blowing by people. Either way, he's putting up numbers. Here's why I hate it. I sent this to you yesterday. There was an article that said 49ers Steelers have a deal on potential Ayuk trade. Please, for the love of everything that is holy in football, do not let the Pittsburgh Steelers get this guy, because he would be a pain in the ass for me for a long time to come. So,
Yeah, it's
don't let it happen.
as I said. I think because as far as the team depth chart goes, I think there's a few mouths to feed. He deserves to be paid. I just think that the further you go down the depth chart, like, you have to start making some decisions, right? And like I said, he's a good player. I didn't say that he isn't, but I think this is too much of a distraction. If he was their top guy, that's one thing, but he's not their top guy, and he needs to know where he fits in that spot. I mean,
I think the only reason they are not jumping on the trigger right now is they clearly think that they see something in Ricky Pearsall, right? Like, they have to. They are in their Super Bowl window right now. They would have paid him by now if it meant, because clearly he's a huge part of this team. We're going to go to a Super Bowl. We're going to win. We got to pay Ayuk. They clearly think that they see something in Ricky Pearsall to be that number 2 to step in seamlessly, or they wouldn't be doing it. So maybe the guy that we should have been talking about this whole time was Ricky Pearsall, but maybe we both don't want to talk about that for some reason.
I think if we really wanted to talk about the guys we wanted to talk about, that would reveal some draft strategy. And we're not quite all the way there yet. There are a few names I left off of the rundown for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, I mean, we got some tactics. Steve's like, what are you trying to get all my draft secrets? I'm like, only a few of them. So I think we had a good show, a good maiden voyage on Area 51. We appreciate being out here. Week 1 we'll do a show, I think, prior to week 1. We'll get all of our I mean, do we do sleepy ads? Do we do sneaky starts on a week 1? It'll probably be more of a hype show, if you will, of matchups and what have you. But I think we'll be ready for week 1. Hopefully we've got Ted and Chris. Not really sure, but you'll definitely have us. So Tuesday nights, it may change once we get to November, December. We all have families, so it does make it a little bit more difficult to schedule, but we're shooting for Tuesday nights as far as weeks 1 through probably 13 realistically. And you can catch it every Tuesday night on the Area 51 network on, according to my screen, Facebook, our YouTube, the YouTube of Area 51, and the Twitch stream, because apparently you got to have pro accounts on Twitter now to be able to stream, which is so stupid. So anyway, it was a pretty good run. Steve, are you happy with things? This is our 4th season, man.
Season number 4. Who would have thought?
Not me.
Just put it. We put this show together much like what Ryan started this show out with. Oh, what does this mean? What is this live thing? Oh, okay, we're going. Cool. Great.
Yeah.
We're starting.
Basically. And 4 seasons later, and I don't know how we do it, but man, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see what happens this season. Hopefully you guys all have like your pick'em. We got pick'em at work, pick'em leagues at work, and that's a big part of our season as well. It's always fun when you can trash talk your boss and he can't do anything about it if he's losing. So it's a good time. So on behalf of the people that are here, my good friend Steve, I am Ryan. This is That Helps No One, FantasyCast on the Area 51 network. Folks, it's almost football season. We're almost there. Peace out.